What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Timeline, episode 111, with my main man, Drew. What's up, Drew?
Oh, not much. Just making it through the holidays.
Jeez.
It's been a fun time, but
Yeah. I always think we're gonna get more relaxation during the holidays than we end up getting for whatever reason. Um, yeah, I guess we're missing Josh again. So obviously, you guys can see that. So it's gonna be a another potentially shorter episode. We'll see how it goes. Josh is under the weather, so we hope you get better, brother. So
you're ready for the new year. Be
yeah,
healthy.
happy New Year, everybody! Too. Yeah, this is an exciting time. 2021 seemed to be very short to me, but it was. Yeah, I'm glad it's
Agreed.
over. You
Yep.
know, but all right, so I guess we will get to the good, the bad, and the ugly. And why don't we start out with you, Drew, with your good?
I'll give everybody a preview. I'm all quarterbacks this week. I think it's pretty obvious which direction we're going for good. Got Joe Burrow, who set a franchise record for yards and is about to eclipse all of Andy Dalton's season-long yards and touchdowns here, especially with the extra game. I would think he would. Personally, I hope he does it this week and does it in a 16 week span as well.
Right.
But really, really great to see him continue to do well there. Excited for him. I know there were some mixed reviews when he got drafted. Number one overall with just the 1 year record year as a senior, but some doubters still wondering if it would translate or if there was enough body of work there to make it in the NFL. And man, it was cool to see a couple of the clips in the locker room afterwards, handing out game balls and kind of building with performance upon performance and going through. Tyler Boyd had a solid game, and then you have Jamar Chase with over 100 yards, no touchdown though, but and then ultimately T. Higgins, huge game for Burrow. So really excited for him, and hopefully for everybody that has him this week coming up, he does an encore for everyone.
Yeah, man, that was just crazy. Like I saw he broke 500 yards, and then they they called it back, said it was an incomplete pass. So then I figured out he's not going to hit 500, and all of a sudden, like he hits 525. So it was, it was just monstrous. Like they just have Baltimore's number, man. Like he's destroyed them both times, and yeah, I agree with you with the record. Like it's just so. Every record is going to get broken now. And it's just like a way for the NFL to build more hype and say, talk about these guys being all-time greats. And, it's just as an older fan, I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, you guys don't know how good, so-and-so was or whatever.
Yep.
Like those guys, all the marks are just going to be, you have an extra, 6% of games to break these records every year, and career records also.
Yep.
That'll add up when you have a long career, almost another season if you play 15 years. So it'll be interesting to see which records hold up, the stand the test of time. I think that there's probably some Iron Man ones that will stand the test of time. I'm not sure how many passing record will stay as is. But I did miss something. The Eliminator. We had the Timeline Eliminator, which I did not review to see who won it. Drew, do you know who won it?
I deleted that from MFL so I could have one less to look at about 6 weeks ago. We are terrible. I should have looked earlier when I put that.
I'm going to pull it up right now.
I know in the Junkies, I lost a close one to Larry Monkey. He got me by about 11 points. Thank you, Steve. Yes, not him in the Eliminator here for us. Arthur, that's awesome. Yeah, quite a trek to get to week 16 and actually beat everyone. So it was a fun season, and you're donating some stuff. Did I see you're getting some swag for some people, Bill?
Yeah, like before when we did the draft, I said that I would buy t-shirts from ffpodshirts.storenv.com for the first, second, and third place team, and then also for the first team eliminated. So So yeah, I've been in contact with everybody is asking me to donate it to somebody else. So Rocky was the first one eliminated. He told me to donate it to Jay, who's in the eliminator. Steve was finished in the top 3, actually finished second, and he told me to send a shirt to Short Logic. Lindsay told me to donate the money to a local charity by me. And Arthur, he left our league chat like in October, and I DM'd him on Twitter, but I haven't heard back from him. So we'll see what he decides, or if I ever hear from him.
Sorry,
but
Arthur.
if I don't hear from him, let's say by the end of the regular season, I'll probably just donate it to a charity somewhere locally. So
love that group that we're in, the FTC chat. So hit us up if you want to join. I know the off season here will be a little bit different. A lot of speculation, some fun there, but a lot of live chat as well. So shout out to that crew and making this year fun in so many different ways.
And also another eliminator in Andrew Hall's eliminator. It was me and Josh in the finals, and Josh kicked me in the tail. So Josh was the victor there.
Nice.
So pretty cool. And Larry Monkey, who beat you, congratulations on your baby boy who was born today. So very exciting for you, and congrats, my man.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's crazy. He just did a pod like 2 nights ago for
for Justin's birthday.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So pretty cool. So it's fun playing with all those guys, a lot of good people, and that's why we do this, honestly. So and the competitiveness of the football, which is fun. I think you and I have a final this week.
We do. I was very, very surprised to open it up and see. I guess, Alvin Kamara hurt a lot of people this week.
Yes. Like we went in down 20 or something like that, and we had Waddle and they had Kamara. And thank you, Miami offense being so non-prolific. It was just incredible. So, I mean, the worst team won, and I'll be honest with you, like Dynasty Theory just smashed this league this year. So it's it kind of hurts when you see the best teams not win, but we've all felt that before, I'm sure. So I'll take it anyway. So yeah, I'll get to my best. My best, or good, I guess is the correct term for this. Mark Andrews, 8 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. And it's not necessarily just this week, I mean, he's been doing it consistently every week. Like he's going to win so many people, or he got so many people into the finals. There's no doubt about it. And he's done this with 3 different quarterbacks. I mean, it's like he is just like all purpose. Like it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, as long as they are, adequate at best, then he's going to do what he does. And I mean, he's turning in, maturing into this tight end 1 or tight end 2. He's going to be a top 3 tight end for the next probably 5-6 years. So it's pretty cool to see. So yeah, it's just even when their offense isn't doing anything, it seems like he's still putting up those points. So good fantasy player right there.
Yeah, I didn't have enough of him early on, and I hope he takes a week off because Lindsay Kennedy has him in our OG league, and I need all the help I can get this week.
Yeah, so, and that was another thing that I meant to bring up was that final matchup. So congrats to you and Lindsay for making the finals. Lindsay's been dominating all year. So
oh my God.
I'm kind of rooting for her. No offense, Drew. I
would be too. Well, it's win-win either way, right? Because if she beats me, she comes on the pod here soon.
Yeah, that's right. That's a win-win. I don't know if she agreed to that, but that we've made that the rule.
We've established it. You're the commissioner.
Yeah, there we go. So yes, it's been decided. Okay, so my bad is Julio Jones, kind of going out with a whimper, 1 catch, 7 yards, and then now he's got COVID. So Just for the excitement for, maybe they're going to start passing the ball more in Tennessee, and, Julio and AJ Brown just being this incredible 1-2 punch. And, I hope this isn't the demise of Julio, but it just seems like these injuries are just catching up with him, and it just seems like he's always getting battered, and he's missing games, or he's always playing hurt, and then you don't know if you should start him. And it seems like that's been the case for like the last 3 years. And when you get a full game from him, he usually produces. Unfortunately, this year he hasn't really produced even with full games. So hopefully it's just one of those years. I mean, we've seen wide receivers go through those, and then the next year they're back to who they were. It's kind of tougher to believe that when you're in your close to mid 30s, lower to mid 30s. And, he's arguably the best wide receiver, in the last 20 years. So, it's kind of sad to see maybe if he does end up going out like this.
Yeah, you hope not. You hope he takes the offseason, gets right, and, maybe gets one more good, serviceable year. A lot of people, I think, tried to pick him up a little bit cheaper in the offseason or made some moves. And definitely got let down this year. But yeah, you hope for a guy like that who's been a really consummate veteran, who's really been a staple of his team, that he gets another chance to go out and hopefully end on his terms and not like this.
Yeah. It's let's hope. What's your bad?
So sticking with the quarterback theme, I'm looking at Ben Roethlisberger, who I think we've all been just watching kind of degrade over the last year or two. 23 of 35, so hard to believe his arm held up for 35 passes, but they were just behind the whole game for 159 yards. And he got a touchdown, but it was such a garbage time touchdown. Hard to even count that. So yeah, just see the deterioration there. It makes me in the leagues that I have Pittsburgh pass catchers next week or this week coming up, I'm so scared to start any of them confidently. So I'm looking at I'm second guessing myself all over the place with guys like Deontay, Claypool. I think really it's just Najee that I would probably feel okay playing, and hopefully he's my RB2. But yeah, that was a pretty bad turnout, and the Browns are going to come in tough on Monday night, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, so 35 passes, so he averaged less than 5 yards per attempt. That's just horrendous. And I think I'm a little more confident in playing Deontay just because of the volume. And PPR, you're going to probably get 10 targets for him. So I'm plugging him in wherever I have him, and you just gotta hope for the best, I guess. But if he's my wide receiver 1, I'm not feeling super confident. So yeah, it's totally that whole offense now, really, because their defense is getting just destroyed on the, in the run game. So it shortens the game so much, and then you got less possessions, and with that inefficient offense, it's just it's a little scary now.
Yeah.
Who's your ugly?
If this guy didn't start this week, I think Roethlisberger would have been my ugly. But watching Ian Book walk into the Miami defense, pick 6 on the first play, 135 yards. You feel bad for the kid. Feel it's got to be tough for his parents sitting there in the stands watching this after watching him probably have mostly success through his entire career. Such a reality check going from college to the NFL. But credit to him, he got back up after that pick 6. You saw him on the sideline. His body language was still positive, ready to go back in and try to make things happen. And really, I thought the Miami game might turn into the Dallas game based on the early part. But it stayed close, and he got his reps in. He got some chances to try to make a few plays. But yeah, I think it's typical when you come in mid-season as a rookie and just trying to pick up. And Saints are in a tough spot overall. So I think all the chatter was trying to figure out if you could get the Miami defense, if you didn't already, going into that game. But hopefully it gets better for him from there, and we'll see. See if he gets a couple good games before the end of the season, and if he's got a shot to fight for something next year, or if he'll just kind of take the next year and sit and learn as well.
I mean, you almost hope that that's the case, right? Like, I mean, he comes into the season as the number 4 quarterback, and all of a sudden he's thrust into an important game against probably the hottest defense in the NFL. I mean, I think that I saw a graphic during that game that their average, like over the last X number of games, they're allowing 12.3 points or something. So, like, you're going into a very, very difficult situation, and then you get one unlucky bounce for that pick six, kind of, where that got deflected by the defensive lineman, and he made the right read, he made the right throw. It just got, just redirected perfectly to a DB, and off we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tough one, and I don't think he's going to have to vastly improve to become a NFL quarterback. I mean, he might end up becoming like the backup to somebody. I think that's probably a ceiling, unless something clicks ridiculously.
Yeah.
My ugly was Melvin Gordon. 7 carries for -4 yards, and then 1 reception for 4 yards. So he had 8 touches for a net of 0. That's tough when you're in the playoffs in the semifinals and you have Melvin Gordon and you think you got to play him probably because he's probably your RB2 in some leagues, and maybe you're flex in others. And unless you're a major 0 RB guy and or girl, and they're your RB1 or he's your RB1. But it's just one of those rough games that's just like, man, that just destroys a team. I mean, you get a net 0 for a running back where you think running backs are going to at least get you 6-7 points with any sort of volume. But it looked like that whole game it was just a slug, like or a trudge. Like nothing. They couldn't get anything going. They need a quarterback.
Yes, they do.
Severely.
Yes, they do.
Drew Lock is not it.
I don't care what his nickname is.
Maybe he'll find another profession. So, okay, so that's our good, bad, and ugly. So we're going to, go to what we saw on the timeline. Okay, the first tweet that we pulled up is from Matthew Morris at PeakFF9. This is a trade, a 12-team, 2 QB dynasty trade. Travis Etienne or Rojo, Jerry Jeudy, and a 23 third. What do you think, Drew?
Man, that's tough. If I'm contending, I definitely want the Rojo side. I want the guy that's playing and has a good shot to put up points this week. I've told you I was trying to go after Rojo in a couple leagues to see if I can kind of reinforce a pretty weak RB stable in a couple of places. But I think overall, I'm fine taking Jeudy, who I know is, he's still a young wide receiver. He's a good player. If and when they get a good quarterback, he could be unlocked, so to speak. So I would take the value there for the long term. Who knows what will happen next year with new coach, new staff in Jacksonville. Seems like James Robinson is probably out of the picture for a while at least. So who knows where they'll go with that, if they draft somebody new, if they bring another veteran in. And then, I mean, it's just a tough injury to come back from that ATN had. So I would be fine taking Rojo, and if he's usable now, great. He gets you points. And then I'll take Jeudy in the long term as well there.
Yeah, I think so too. I was never a big ETN guy. And I think I leaned James Robinson even when after the draft. I mean, I just felt like he was a better true running back. Now you have a guy who might be a misfit toy in the next offense. And so we'll see what happens there. But I agree. I think Judy's the best piece in this. And again, it kind of goes back to the last comment I made about they just need a quarterback. And Jeudy looks fine. I mean, he looks like an NFL wide receiver. Maybe he's a wide receiver too. Maybe like low RB or wide receiver 2, high wide receiver 3 kind of guy. But I mean, that's better than Um, that's better. I think potentially better than what you get out of ETN. So, and I agree with you. This is probably most definitely a playoff push for somebody. Um, so yeah, I think I agree with you there. All right, the next question from Nick Whalen at underscore Nick Whalen. Trading Amon-Ra St. Brown. What would you pay to acquire him in Dynasty? A mid first, late first, early second, mid second. What do you think, Drew?
If I'm playing again this week and I can get him this week to help me in my championship run, I'll pay an early second for him. I'm probably not going much beyond that. If we can get a package deal to work out, I would feel good about making something that's maybe an aging piece or a draft pick in addition. So maybe I would give a first if I was getting him and a late second back or something like that. So I have another shot in case he fizzles out next year. I know there's a lot of question marks around, do they bring a veteran in, who do they draft, etc. But I think he's done enough for me that he's moving into I've seen you do it kind of a realm. Granted, I mean, there are guys like Darius Slayton that people comp him to, and I got burned by him a while ago, overdrafted him for a couple of years. But at the end of the day, what it's taken to have him on your team, whether you drafted him late second, early third last year, you probably got him really, really cheap earlier this season, even up to a month ago. I made a trade in one league with Rocky where he was making a push, and I gave up Kareem Hunt for St. Brown in a late second. And I feel fine about that now. We're rebuilding, so I definitely want the younger asset with an opportunity to have some runway. So I would be certainly looking at, if I had somebody else's early second and I'm contending, sure, I'll send that over and I'll take, especially with does it look like Reynolds is likely out or definitely out this week? Gotcha, mute, Bill.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll look that up for Josh, or Josh Reynolds, but looks like he's headed to the IR, COVID IR. So we'll see what happens there for Josh Reynolds. But yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm like super almost anti. I've kind of chalked this up to a little bit like when the Giants had no wide receivers and um and now I'm blanking on his Evan Ingram got all those targets, and so everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing, just because he put up the stats as a rookie, and that usually indicates that they're pulling. If they're that good when they're a rookie, they're pulling targets. That's very promising for the future. Problem is, there's no other options, and I kind of feel like that's the case here with Amon-Ra. Like I'm very happy with him being like a piece. What's he going to be? He's going to be a slot. Is he going to be Jarvis Landry? I mean, we could hope. Like that would be like, I think, the ceiling for him. I was listening to a Good Football show today, and they were talking about that he's the first rookie wide receiver to have 8 receptions in 4 straight games since Odell Beckham. So, I mean, it's kind of an interesting stat there for him. He is not Odell Beckham. Well, I think we'll all agree with that. But I mean, he's commanding it, right? Like he's performing. He's not just the targets. He's not inefficient. He's catching a high percentage of his targets. And so, I mean, there is some promise there. And so I'm definitely not paying a first for him. I don't believe. I mean, even when Jarvis Landry had done it a couple seasons, I don't think people were even. I don't think you were getting a first for him. Like that's just how people didn't really believe in him. So, so I think he's got to be a second. I guess I can buy into an early second. My first reaction was mid second, and at that point, like, what's it really? What's the difference? If you really believe in the guy, go ahead and throw a little extra into it. But Yeah, I would have a hard time paying a first for him because there's just so many wide receivers, and I don't necessarily feel like he's going to be a difference maker long term.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I mean, they got rid of all their pass catchers this year, minus Hawkinson.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they saw something that they really liked in him when they drafted him, or what the deal will be, or if they were just really setting themselves up to prepare for the draft this coming year and make that run.
That's my bet. And then you see, like, when he is doing this performing, like, I mean, this is when Hawkinson's been out as well. So, like, there's really no one commanding the targets other than him. So it'll be Swift gone, like everybody's gone. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what he'll do next year. It may help him. I mean, I don't think he can get any more efficient than he has been, if they add skill around him, but maybe it opens things up for him and he can, maybe get some longer depth of target passes. So we'll see. But that's all we have in Detroit. So he's who we have to root for. All right. Next one from Jacob Sanderson at FF_RTDB. Here are 10. Is this something that you put here?
I did, yeah. So he's got a list here in his tweet. So I didn't want to give you a preview. I'm going to make you do this in real time.
So you go ahead and read it.
Yeah, list of 10 guys and kind of a would you rather. So based on keep trade cuts rankings or evaluations, 10 players that are similarly valued right now to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So would you rather have Amon-Ra St. Brown or Chase Claypool in a 12-team PPR Superflex?
Oh, I'd rather have Claypool. I'm a sucker for the big wide receivers that, can do those X wide receivers. And so, yeah, I would definitely rather have him. I think he's more likely to be a game changer.
Okay. I feel like the next one's pretty easy as well. As an aging asset, would you rather have DeAndre Hopkins or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Oh, I'd rather get 1 year Hopkins. Hopkins, totally.
This one is a little bit more interesting to me. Would you rather have the enigma of Michael Thomas or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Man, this is like, I would like, just as a player on my team, I would rather have St. Brown. Value wise, like if I've been playing value, I'd much rather have Michael Thomas because if he starts doing what he does, I can get rid of him. But he's not a player I want on my team just because I think he's super combustible. And I think that I never know when he's not going to play the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would probably take the shot on Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. So again, 12-team PPR. So big play Mike Williams. Wondering where he goes next, or Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Jeez. I mean, I might go St. Brown now.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the longevity or what's?
Well, I just think so. Mike Williams is a guy who gets hurt all the time, and he's finally popped a few times. When he's healthy, he pops. But then at the same time, like if this is last year in San Diego or in Los Angeles, and if so, where does he go? Is that a good change or a bad change? Like, I don't know the answer to that because from what I understood, this offense was going to almost use him as their Julio Jones kind of, right? And like the scheme. And, early on, that's what happened. Then just kind of petered out. So like, I don't really know, like there's not a situation necessarily that I would go, oh, that's a great change, I guess. So,
okay. We'll switch it over to a different position now. Amon-Ra St. Brown or one Miles Sanders?
I don't want any Miles Sanders. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I think St. Brown.
Okay. What about Tony Pollard?
Jeez. I'd probably go St. Brown.
Yeah.
Like, I like Pollard. I'm not sure he's ever going to be a one. So he's going to be the satellite guy. I think he's going to be the secondary running back. So he'll never be like the 1A, I don't think. And so like, I hope he does because I have him everywhere, but in reality, I'm not sure. But all these like ones, I could like somebody, the wind blows this way, I might pick
Yeah.
the opposite. You know what I mean? The early ones were easy to me.
Yeah.
But where we're getting now, it's when the ones I'm picking, St. Brown.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pollard's aging, but I think with his explosiveness, and he's generally been healthy, so I could probably, especially with the dearth at running back, take the shot there. And if I get to use him for 5 or 6 games next year and feel good about starting him because Zeke is injured or something, I would probably lean that way. Let's go. We'll switch it up again to tight end, and we'll just say a mild tight end premium, kind of like either Superflex Army or like the OG League here. So like 1.5, I think is what we've got in those.
yep.
So Noah Fant and Dallas Goedert, either of those over Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I think I would take them both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Pretty easily, I think.
Yeah, especially if there's any kind of premium. If it's straight PPR, I think I'd still go with the consistency of the tight end and knowing that they've got established roles in their offense at this point. He threw this one in here. Any first round pick. I think you and I are both on the same page there. If somebody offered us a first for him, we would take that and run.
Yeah.
And then in Superflex, so we'll do quarterback for the last couple. Carson Wentz or Derek Carr? How do they line up against St. Brown for you?
Oh, I would take the quarterbacks. I mean, I think that like there's just too many wide receivers, and I'm not like like I said earlier, I'm not sold on him being some game-changing wide receiver. So he's interchangeable with probably 20 wide receivers, in my opinion. So I'd rather roll the dice on a starting quarterback.
I agree, especially in Superflex. So yeah, interesting list there to read through. Yeah, a couple were pretty straightforward, and then some where it's like you start to see kind of the mixture that he's in. So when you start putting in groups like that,
it actually put it in perspective a little bit more. I actually am surprised that I picked him in some of those. That was a good list. So
thanks,
well
Jacob.
done to Jacob, and well done to you for picking it. Okay, so there was a little bit of a hullabaloo on Twitter about people making moves after they've been eliminated from the playoffs. And so I'm just reading one entry from this thread of a person who is anti-making moves if you are no longer in the playoffs. Fantasy Maestro at Fantasy Maestro _. And let me be clear, I'm not sure this is a shtick account or not. But if you enjoy allowing eliminated teams to still have an impact on who wins the championship, then you simply do not understand competition. If you cannot see how stupid that is, I can't help you. Tell me, how many major sports leagues allow playoff trading? So, I mean, but this was just one entry, like a back and forth from a lot of people. And, it did not want to hear any argument from the other side, saying, well, it adds a different dynamic, all of that. What are your thoughts, I guess? And then we can kind of.
Well, you caught me, Bill. This is my burner account.
Oh, good. So I know what your thoughts are.
No. Some of it, I think, comes down to the type of league you're in. But you will even talk through like a redraft or a yearly season long. I think Josh mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you paid for a season's worth of fun. Have a season's worth of fun. If you're really that keyed in on winning, then make your moves, right? Queue up your waivers, place your bids, be a week ahead of everybody who's going to do stuff, and go gung ho and go all in on it. And if you're not going to pay that close of attention and you just expect it to be given to you, then you know what? Maybe you get a little bit of what you deserve here. If it's dynasty, there's no question. I mean, waivers, trades, whatever. My stance is. Dynasty is a year-long exercise. You are continually building your team. So there should be an opportunity to do that all year long. I think for some people, maybe this year with COVID, it has finally like highlighted that a little bit where they didn't give it that credence before. Seeing some of these teams that have just, their IR is just as long as their starting lineup, and it's probably a better IR list than they have in their starting lineup for the playoffs. But I think my short answer is, if you don't want it to happen, there are plenty of platforms and tools that will help you not let it happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're in this for fun, unless you're high stakes, $500 buy-in or something like that, or you're going for 5-6 figures, then your definition of fun is very different than mine.
But even if you were, you still have the option as a an adult to make a decision on the leagues you join. And so, like, if you join a league that has that rule where you can trade in the playoffs, then, you know, that's on you for joining that league. And I agree. Like, I mean, I think Dynasty, there should be no argument, like, especially if you enter into a league with those settings.
Yes.
Like, there's just no argument, in my opinion, as to it being wrong. I was on the opposite side of you and Josh when it came to the redraft, or like, so. But keeper leagues, I feel like you should, because you could be adding somebody that you end up wanting to keep.
Yep.
Odds are that's not the case, but I think there's a fair argument to be made there. But then I also understand, if you're in a long-term league with a bunch of your buddies, there's some gamesmanship just to be done in there. So, like, I can appreciate that. And like, I have a friend who's been, or like, I've been in a league with some of my college friends since 1993. And so, like, I mean, we're going to do everything we can to screw with each other,
Heck yeah.
so it's that's just part of the fun. And so, like, I don't know. I think, like, anybody having this strong of an opinion typically isn't gonna, like, them and I will not agree very often, because I just never feel like there's a black and white answer to pretty much anything. So,
Yep.
um, so yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Reevaluate your decisions at that point. You got to be able to reflect and realize, what are you really getting uptight over here?
yeah,
There's so many other things right now in this world that you could get passionate and excited about. A transaction or two that screws you out of an extra $100 or $200 in your final, maybe, if you end up second versus first. I don't know.
yeah. I don't. I just think ultimately it's down to you to, um, decide what type of league you want to be in, and if you don't want to be in it, but somebody else does, more power to them. Like, I mean, who am I to tell you what you're supposed to like? So,
Yeah.
I think that I'm for small government there.
Laissez-faire.
Okay, so the next one is from Dynasty Football at DKZ. Benching Barkley for Rojo seems wrong in a final, and that was just it. So, I think there's a lot of people in finals that are going to have these types of issues. Like, I mean, there's a lot of running backs, whether it's Rojo, Penny, Sony Michel, or Daria Agumbawale. Like, there's players like that. Like, you got to decide, are they worth playing over somebody you've had on your roster all year and has helped you, but maybe has been struggling recently on a struggling offense. And so, like, where do you make that, distinction? Is like, how far are you willing to go in a final to pick that based on matchup or situation versus, starting your stud?
Yeah, for this one, I don't think anybody is calling Saquon a stud 16 weeks in this year from his performances. So for me, I am absolutely fine in this scenario, starting Rojo over him or somebody like that. I actually have Saquon in a league that I'm in the finals in with some old friends here, where I'm looking at, I'm watching Kareem Hunt to see what happens. Did he practice today? I haven't looked. I'm hoping he practices before Sunday, because I would much prefer to put Kareem Hunt in against the Steelers on Monday night and feel like I have a last desperate shot if I need it, over Saquon on Sunday against the Chicago Bears, who I actually picked up their defense going into this game. So I will tell you, it hurt me a few years ago in the same league. Is 2 QB league, and I went through this stress looking at Aaron Rodgers, who was my QB1, but I had Ryan Fitzpatrick with a sweet matchup, and I sat Fitzpatrick because Rodgers got me here. Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. You don't mess with 12. And I lost because Rodgers did not score as well as Fitzpatrick, and that happened to be the difference that year. I will tell you that one instance has not made me change. I will typically go with the ones that got me there. So if I do have a stud that has got me here, if they have a tough matchup, I'm not sitting Austin Eckler this week if he plays, and I don't care who he plays. he could play, the number one run defense, and I'm going to put him in there.
Yeah.
But for somebody who like Saquon, he has name cachet at this point. It's tough to see a guy like that struggle. I really like the guy coming out of college. I love the athleticism. But yeah, I will personally be looking at, do I have a better option than Saquon? I've been looking at the waiver wire too, and I think this is the gamesmanship. I've got some of these guys. It's only a 10-team league, and these guys have already vultured any other startable running backs that I could possibly think of. So it is what it is. So I've got Kareem Hunt sitting on the bench, and I'm waiting to see what happens with his practice this weekend.
Yeah, that's it's interesting. Like this year more than any, I've really gone like 0 RB, which has been a good year to do that. So I don't have to make that decision too often. Wide receivers are pretty cut and dry, in my opinion. Like you pretty much know when to start them or not. It's the running backs are always going to be the challenge. But I do have a few where I have to make those decisions. And it's a struggle. And I usually lean towards taking my studs because I'd rather go down, picking the best player. I just don't feel like I'm savvy enough to know the matchup, how much it's worth. And so just with that being the case, I usually choose to err on the side of the player I think is better. Which is obviously helped and hurt over the years. So yeah, it's just a crapshoot a little bit, in my opinion. So, but another thing that I just thought of when you brought it up was, you plan on playing Rojo on Monday night. Is that who it was on Monday night?
Kareem Hunt.
Oh, Browns. Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, Browns and Steelers.
Isn't there the concern, and maybe not Kareem Hunt, but just in general, like, are you concerned about starting players on Monday night and not being able to react if there's a COVID scare? Like, that's something that, like, I'm really taking into account this week. Like, is that something? Because if not, something happens, like you're out of position there, and that could cost you the final.
Yeah, I believe Hunt already. I don't think he's had COVID, but he's been on the list. So I guess if he could get on the list again, that would suck. So I guess I should probably look at the waivers and see if I still have the ability to get Dearness Johnson or something like that. That's definitely something I have not really thought about going into Monday night. I think my typical mindset has been, I love having Sunday night, Monday night players because it feels like I've got, a few more shots at to come back here if I need it. But that's a totally valid point that I didn't think through right now is, with everything on the line, do I have a backup plan if, Sunday morning something does come up, or again, do I have somebody from the other team? I don't even know who I'd want to have from the Steelers, because I guess who is it? McFarland is on the COVID list right now, so hopefully Najee doesn't get there, keep him away. But I'll have to look back through and see what I can pick up. Yeah.
Or Kalen Ballage, right?
Oh my gosh!
But
what if?
I mean, that's totally something that I've definitely been paying attention to, and like I just have this feeling, like it might just be one player or something like that, but I just have a feeling we're gonna have people losing their championships because of Monday night, and the news comes out at like 5 p.m. or something or maybe even earlier in the day. So-and-so tested.
Oh, yeah. Sunday night, going into the Sunday night game, all of a sudden the Steelers wide receiver room is all in COVID protocol.
Decimated. So then everybody's scrambling to pick up like I don't know, like Higgins from Cleveland.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be fun, and it's just gonna be chaos, and that's awesome to me. But I can't say, like, I have a team that was 6-8 going into the playoffs and it was just based on record. I was a 6 seed because everybody else just got destroyed, and I'm now in the final. Like, it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's just the point is it has nothing to do with my skill. It has to do with just the craziness that's happened over the last month, and the plans have aligned for my team, and so it's just this year, even more than last year, in my opinion, is pure luck. I mean, I was in a final last week where I had like 7 guys with COVID and the other team had 0. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
I had dominated that league, but then I ended up losing. So it's just that's the year, and but it's highly entertaining. So like I'm not complaining at all. Like I'm enjoying the ride, I guess. So
That's all you can do, right? I mean, you
yes,
can't get yourself
totally.
uptight about stuff you can't control.
That is correct. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. This is from Justin at jrow_27. I'm in a championship game of a fantasy football league and have James Robinson, a non-playoff team, jumped me in the waivers to pick up Agumbawale this week. It's a dynasty league, but should I be suspicious about this move? So thoughts, Drew?
Suspicious how? You have to define what suspicious means. Like, is that person out to try to sabotage your chances? Heck yeah, they are. You're competing.
I think that's definitely what he means. We kind of had a back and forth, because I responded, and he was just like, like, why is he even doing this? Like, well, it's Dynasty League. People, maybe he feels Agumbawale's the next in line to get all the touches next year. So he's okay having him on his roster.
Yeah.
You can't answer.
Maybe you sent a trash trade 2 years ago, and now this is a chance to get back at you.
Yeah, and it could just be as simple as that. He's being a prick, and that's okay too.
Yeah. I'm absolutely looking at. I'm looking at one of my leagues where I was rebuilding this year. I've got the 101 next year, and I moved a bunch of people to IR, and I have picked up a bunch of IDP guys that I hope maybe they have somebody in front of them retire or somebody gets traded, and I'm absolutely scouring for anything that I can that I think might have any sort of value when it comes to draft time next year. And you know what? If I get to play a little bit of a spoiler or add a wrinkle to the finals week, that's how I get to participate and have some fun. So yeah, 100% you should be thinking that somebody else is going to be doing that. If you're not a little paranoid in Dynasty, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, it's he actually asked me, would you support a rule where a non-playoff team acquiring a player in weeks 15 through 17 would have to keep that player rostered for 1 or 2 weeks into the following season? I mean, it's an interesting rule. I'm not going to deal with that because as a commissioner, I don't want to keep track of that shit. But like, I feel like that's over managing because so much can change in the summer. You know what I mean? Like the news that he blew out his Achilles, somebody's going to cut him,
That's why you use FAB and you have a minimum bid amount.
I mean, that happened in Superflex Army. I was going to bid on Agumbawale just to I outbid you guys. And then somebody else came in and swooped him up. And I was like, all right, I mean, maybe we would have played him. I don't know.
We don't need running back help, Bill. We're fine. We're set at running back in that league.
Well, I don't know if I was either. I don't know. I think we're fine too. But point being was I was doing it to prevent you guys from getting it.
Absolutely.
And then somebody that wasn't in the playoffs swooped in and got him. So
good for them.
What are you gonna do? It's just that's just part of the game, and I can't fault that person for doing that.
No way.
Maybe they think one of us wants to trade for him now. I mean, that's the other part. If you have no trade deadline, I mean, everything's fair game. So
absolutely.
So yeah, it was an interesting back and forth. He seemed a little perturbed by it, and I get it, but that's part of the game, I think.
Yeah, that's what happens when you don't hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there was definitely some emotion in the tweets. So I just thought that was interesting, but I think you and I are on the same page there. Okay, and you got something? The next one.
Yeah. So Ray G at Ray GQ. He asked a question here. Didn't put a poll with it, just kind of an open-ended. How many of y'all in your fantasy championship matchups split the pot with whoever you're matched up against? And I think this was interesting going back to the randomness in general, but especially this year with so much out of our control with COVID. I'm just curious, has that come up for you at all, Bill? I know you certainly in Superflex Army we haven't had any exchange about that. I've personally never had anybody offer that to me, and I've never thought to offer that to anybody else. I've seen it happen, and in other leagues with friends, but I've typically been, I play to win, or I want to go for it all. But honestly, if Lindsey Kennedy offered me a pot chop in the OG league, I would think hard about it based on where my team is compared to hers. But I was curious, you've been in this a little bit longer than I have. So what's your exposure experience been with that?
I mean, I've seen it happen, and it doesn't bother me any. Like, I mean, once you get to that point, there's no, you're not screwing anybody else over. You know what I mean? It's just there's X number of dollars. You guys can allocate it how you want, whether you do it through the league or you do it afterwards. Like, I don't find that to be any sort of collusion or anything. It's just,
Is that something that you look to do, or that you like to do in finals?
I don't do that often. I actually did it. I just actually made it an offer in one league this year, just because COVID has just been so
Yeah.
crazy. And the difference between first place and second place is so vast, financially. I was like, why don't we condense it a little bit? We'll both be happy. If we lose, I'm the favorite, so I think it was probably, he was more than willing to accept it. But I just feel like, I don't have a problem with it. Like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with it. I don't do it often. I have done it with friends, like friends that I've known forever.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I just want to kick your ass. It doesn't really matter the money. So let's just split the money.
Trophy matters more, right?
Exactly. But this year was the first time, just because of COVID. Like, it's such a crapshoot that it's just like, Yeah. And that specific league, because the difference between first and second was such a big difference.
Yeah, so I think this is definitely a year to consider it if you haven't before. The responses Ray got over 100 responses real quick. All across the spectrum. But what I will say is it was really encouraging to see some of the responses where folks were saying, you know what, it's not about the money, right? It's about the camaraderie, or, I am in it to win it, but really having my name on the champions banner is more important than, a couple $100 difference. So fun to see the community get on board there. And you know what, maybe there is somebody who, needs or wants this more financially, which is great. You know what?
Exactly.
Go for it. So I love that part of it. So it was a fun thread to read through. And definitely something that, if something does come up this year, I would definitely consider if folks do it. But yeah, like I said, I've not really done it in the past, but if there were ever a year to do it, this definitely feels like the year.
Yeah. And that league, actually, the guy is the commissioner, and he felt funny. He's like, is this collusion? I'm like, it's absolutely not collusion. But I'm like, if you don't feel comfortable with, like, I didn't know, like, just because he's a commissioner and that sort of thing, I was like, after I beat you, I'll just send you the difference through PayPal,
Yeah, nobody has to know, right?
Yeah, we don't have to make, of course, I just advertised it on a pod, but like, regardless, like, it's, I don't think it should matter. And we don't know people's financial situation. That difference in that split could be heat for somebody's house, like they fell into hard times during the season or something. We don't know. So
totally.
I'm totally okay with stuff like that. I am sure there's other people that say y'all are a bunch of, whatever for doing that, winner take all kind of stuff.
At me, bro.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's a good topic, and I think that I'm fine with whatever people do. Okay, Matt at Matty Uno says Jonathan Taylor is on every single one of my dynasty rosters in the championship this week. Hoping and praying we avoid an outbreak. So yeah, the COVID scare is real. So I was just curious, how many finals are you in?
I'm in 6.
Okay. And is there particular players that are notably highly rostered for you?
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I need him to live in a bubble. I need him to stay the heck away from his brother and his shenanigans and whatever else could possibly hinder him from putting up 40 points this weekend.
Yeah, I hear you. It is stress-free or stressful, because like if that one particular player gets hit, it could be an issue.
Yeah, I'm sunk.
So I just used Dynasty Planet for their roster thing for the leagues I'm in, and I have 5 Duke Johnsons in 7 leagues, but I don't really count him as one of my major players. But um, I have 4 George Kittle and 4 Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
So
Yep.
those
Chiefs stay
are
healthy. Chiefs
yeah
do stay healthy.
yeah. So those are the 2 that I'm really hoping.
Yeah. I've got Justin Jefferson in 3 of them.
Okay.
So he's another one I need.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see what else. Really nobody else of note until I get down to like 2. So
yeah, I've
it
got
seems like
Montgomery and a
everybody's
few.
on IR too.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I think Montgomery's my most rostered running back. Him and Javonte. I think I've got Javonte in 3 or 4 of the finals. I've got Montgomery in probably 3 of the finals. So some players that could make an impact, but ultimately, I just want good football this weekend.
Yeah, me too, man. It's just like 1 week without the COVID,
nonsense.
but that's not happening. We know that, and so we'll see what happens. You brought up Montgomery, and this is an interesting. Just going back to kind of the trading during the playoffs. Me and John Bauer were kind of bouncing back and forth in one of the leagues. I think it was a safe league.
Okay.
And I was in the semis, and I had been trying to get Montgomery because, again, I was just like, I did not draft any really. Oh, I had Dobbins, who's hurt, and some other players, and he offered me Montgomery, and I didn't pull the trigger, and that was the difference between me advancing in the finals or that's happened multiple times now, apparently. So I almost wonder if I'm going to overcorrect next year. And
I'll have to remember that.
Make more moves. Although I went a little nutso in one league because I'm not a favorite going in, and I figure I'm here. I may as well take a shot. And so I traded a second and 2/3 for Sony and Jeff Wilson because I have no running backs. And then I traded my first for AB, and I get a second in
23
from a non-playoff team in 2023. So
that's not bad.
I feel like I got as good of a lineup as I can have now.
Yep.
But and it kind of feels good to make those moves because you're like, okay, well, at least I did what I could, and we'll see what happens. But it's an exciting week for sure when you have some teams in the finals. So I guess we'll get off of that. And I threw one on at the end. William Spencer III at Hype Finest. Fantasy questions. Do you guys hide your roster until the last minute? For example, the guy I'm playing against in my CBS league is benching his roster so I can't see the lineup. Is that a sound strategy you guys use? Nope, I don't. I just put my best lineup in and call it a day, and I adjust throughout the week as news hits. Drew?
Yeah, I think with the volume of leagues that I'm in, which for me, double-digit leagues is plenty. And that keeps me so busy. So I think as soon as I can on Tuesday, I'm putting in whatever I think is my best lineup in case life happens or something else happens. I know there are a lot of people last week, with the holidays and stuff, people missed out on switching James Conner out at the last minute, which
I saw that
hurt some folks, which I benefited from that in a couple of leagues, and it felt a little gross knowing like it's Christmas. So I don't ever want to be in that place. And plus, I just want to make sure that I have a good lineup too. I know a lot of leagues, we're trying to move away from some of the intentional tanking and stuff like that. So you want to put a good league, good team out there. As a commissioner, I appreciate when folks do that in our leagues. So I want to do that in other people's leagues. But I would say the most gamesmanship I ever do with my roster or my starting lineup is sometimes I'll put a fringe flex person into start, so that somebody that I want to trade with sees them as a starter, so they think that I value them more or something like that. That's probably about as far as I go playing with my lineups during any part of the season. But I've never done the whole bench everybody or put all my scrubs in until the last minute.
Yeah, I think at this point I'm not making really any decisions to block the other team. Like I'm putting out my best lineup, and whatever happens, like I mean, because if it was different, where the if I lost my train of thought.
If y'all could see what just popped up in the chat.
So what were we talking about?
You're setting your lineup. You're not focused on your opponent.
Yeah. Like I'm not setting up like it's different. Like back in the day, you had like maybe one or two wide receivers that got all the passes, right? So like, could I set up a wide receiver to block a quarterback? Well, it would be easier then. But now everybody spreads it around so much that it's just so difficult to, it's just difficult to pick the right blocker for the other lineup. So I'm just putting the best lineup out. Yeah. Thank you, MJ23, for your comment.
Glad
that
you're watching
startled
us.
me. So anyway, on that note, we just knocked out another episode, and you and I made it over an hour.
We did beat our record from last week.
We're a little more prepared coming into this week. We had many more tweets to talk about, but yeah, I mean, I guess Happy New Year, brother.
Yeah, man. Hopefully it's safe and healthy for y'all. Thanks, Lindsay. Oh my God. Yeah, what a way to go out with a bang on the end of the year.
Pun intended.
Crazy that 2021 is done, and hopefully 2022 is good for everybody who's listening, for you, your family, your loved ones, and the ones you care about. And we look forward to picking up next week in 2022 with episode 112. And yeah, definitely hoping Josh gets himself back into game shape here, and we can do the thing that we normally do. And hopefully we have some trophies to show each other next week after this championship weekend.
Yeah, for sure. So for everybody that joined us in the chat, appreciate you guys popping in, and for everybody listening to the podcast, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you. It's been a little over 2 years that we've done the pod and the YouTube show. It's been a blast, and so another season coming to an end. So it's we always get to these times of year and kind of looking back, and there's going to be some changes on the show coming up, where actually next episode will be my final episode for as a main host. I'm going to be the Drew of the past and be the relief pitcher. So
I was hoping you maybe forget that detail.
Oh, about me leaving the show as a permanent host?
Yeah, maybe we get into the next year and you're committed for another year.
Yeah, it's like Groundhog Day or something. But no, it's been awesome, and I couldn't ask to be doing this with any better people, and there's been so many awesome people that watch the show and listen to it, and are members of the FTC and all of that stuff. So I mean, I'll still be around. I just won't be in your face all the time. So, so Happy New Year, everyone. You are truly appreciated. And we will talk to you next week. Drew, we are out of here.
Late.